Okay, so to continue with where we left off with yesterday, um, the problem I have is that some of my geometry has an overlapping issue, right? So I see here that at the top chord, my diagonals that have thickness now are kind of sticking out from the top of the chord, right? And that's because of the alignments that I chose. So there are a few easy ways of doing this. One of the ways that I would typically do something like this is to use some kind of geometry in order to subtract it. Now, you need to really think about how you aligned this geometry, because in some cases it's going to work for you, and in some cases it's going to work against you. In this case, what I have is geometry that's extending too far on the top and on the bottom, and I have some other geometry that I might want to think about cleaning up in different ways. I extended this so that it creates kind of a clean face edge on the top chord end face. So if you think about it in terms of Rhino operations, what Rhino can do, I have many options. I can take the geometry that's there and I can trim it from itself and from its other components. I can develop a secondary geometry and then use that to Boolean subtract certain elements from it. Or I can use surfaces and do a surface trim. Some of them have reasonable positives and unreasonable negatives. Obviously, you know that trim is going to leave the basically the profile of a poly surface open. Meanwhile, a Boolean difference will actually close it and cap it for you. So I'm not saying that you can't do it with trim. It is sometimes better, but in this case I think a Boolean difference is going to work really well for us. And so we have to go through the process of developing a Boolean that's going to clean this up. So I'll just look at it from up here for now. And I think one of the ways that I'm going to choose to develop this is based off of my rule set. So what I kind of know from just my understanding of how, let's say for some reason the truss works out that the diagonals will not be any thicker in width than the top chord and the bottom chord. So that tells me that I could probably use the geometry of the top chord in some form or fashion to subtract from the geometry that exists above it. Does that make sense? So basically, if I take that top chord and I just move it up a distance of its own thickness, then I have a secondary geometry that lives on top of that. Does that make sense? Theoretically? All right, well, the reason I pose these, I want to just kind of take a sidebar real fast. The reason I pose these questions to you guys is because visualizing the path forward is very, very important for this. Okay, you need to think about what options you might have, pick which ones you think are going to be the best option, and then have at it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I want you all to be in the practice of doing that. So now let's get to it. The top chord is right here. This is the scaled version, and I'm using the scaled version because the scaled version, or the non-scaled version, stops here, and it means I won't be able to cut this one right here if I copy it up and sit it on top. So really all I have to do is a move command. So I'm going to go to transform, Euclidean, and move. And we can borrow the unit z, because right now everything we're doing for this particular exercise is in the z direction vertically. So vector, vector, unit z. And I'll plug that into t. And then the other thing that you just need to do here that I guess it depends how you want to do it. You can borrow the top thickness that has the expression and then multiply it again by 2 to get the full thickness. That's an option, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm doing my unit z, and I'm going to make an expression on it that says x times 2. Now I know that this one was an x divided by 2, and then now I'm creating one that's x times 2. It's a little redundant and unnecessary, but I'd rather not have a second connection from all the way back here. I just want to keep it pretty clean at the end here. So, and then the geometry I'm going to move is obviously going to be the scaled geometry. So that would be this right here. So there you see that secondary geometry actually exists on top of and encloses those geometries that live out, above the top chord. So I can use that as a subtraction. I'm going to do that right now. Do I want to do it yet? Yeah, I'll do it now. So I'll just do it right now and get it kind of done and over with. So under intersect and shape, I'm going to do solid difference. And so now this solid difference is going to be a difference between this, the copy of my top chord, and my diagonals, which exist here and here. So I'll need to, you can merge them into one list and then feed them all in at the same time if you choose. That might be prudent in this case, so I'll just do it anyway, just in case. So I'll go to tree, merge, and then you just plug in your B-rep output, not the N output. So B-rep output, B-rep output. Just make sure that you flatten those lists on the input side. That way you're going to get one list of all of your B-reps. So now it's not exactly clear on solid difference which one is the subtractor. So I tend to kind of screw this one up a lot. So I'm just going to plug in my subtractor first and then my subtraction objects second, and see that's the opposite. So you can see what it did there. It actually cut using my diagonals. So let me go back. Geometry will be B. Merge will be A. And there you see, you can see when I turn these off, and then I turn off all this extra geometry up here, leave the scale new. There you go. Now you can see that it actually trimmed it off nice and clean at the top. Not too hard, right? Pretty simple so far. So likewise, and I'm just going to capture this one in the same video real fast. Likewise, we do the same thing for the bottom chord, because the bottom chord has the same issue, right? You can see that right down there. The only difference here is that we didn't actually scale the bottom chord yet. So I need to copy pretty much this entire segment, right? Everything up to the surface difference. I'm going to copy that up and replace all my connections appropriately so that it matches. So I'll move these all up here. The top curve one has to go away, or just reconnect it to your bottom curve like this. Then you'll rename that, obviously. So this is going to be bottom curve. The geometry, right? So see how this scale new is plugged into the B output of that. So we'll override that connection. We'll also override the connection here. Oh, look at that. Oh, because that's borrowing the other geometry that's already moved. Override the scale connection down here. Oh, sorry, wrong one. No, wait a minute. No, that's correct. I lied. So notice how you can kind of see that it's already cutting it right there. That's because it's cutting it using something that's moving up, and we have it turned off, so you can see this one right here. It already exists. All we have to do is just make sure that it goes down instead. And actually, now that you mention it, oh yeah, that does have the extension. Or does it need it? It won't need the extension, but it doesn't seem to be doing it. Well, that's where the extension is going. Bottom curve doesn't seem to be top curve. You know, I can't see enough. It looks like the bottom curve for some reason is putting the perpendicular frame back at the origin. No, it's putting it 0.5. Ah, look at that. For some reason this one, the parameter is going 0.5 feet away from the origin. I don't know why it's doing that. But if we reparametrize it, it goes to the middle. So that is super odd. I just want to throw this out here to you guys. Remember yesterday we had that quick conversation about perp frame, and I talked about how you can't really tell whether or not it's going to do a proportional or reparametrized measurement of where it should be placed, which would be 0.5, meaning 50% of the way down the line, or if it's going to do a static or length-based placement. And so in this case, for some reason, when I copied it, it went over to a static placement, which meant 0.5 away instead of 0.5, meaning 50% away. Does that make sense to you all? I don't believe that it does when you give me no response.
Yes.
I got 2 yeses out of 7. Okay. I'll explain it in a little greater detail when we're done the video here so that you can really get it. But anyway, let's finish up what we're doing. So this right now is going up instead of down. So the connection that I need to fix here is the Z connection. This Z connection is actually still coming from this top thickness, and the top thickness is a positive. So if I want to borrow the same thickness from my bottom, I need to make sure that it's a negative, and it's going to go down. So now make sure you turn off your move geometry. You can turn off your, yeah, that's better. Yeah. So notice how we now have generated, because it was a copy-based operation, we generated 2 different sets of these right here. So we need to make sure that those are going to be the same set. So it really means that we have to insert another merge. So we have, this is our list of merged diagonals. And so this is going to be the key for what we're actually surface differencing. So ultimately, if we take these 2 rails and we merge those into a list, then they should be cutting each of the particular items. So let's do another merge of those 2. So I'll do a tree merge this one and that one. So now we have a list of, oh, it came out interesting. It didn't come out flattened. That was super odd. So instead of doing 2 of these now, we're going to take this merge, and those are going to be the operative items. So I'll plug this one in here, and then make sure you turn off all the old stuff, except for your scale news. And that is what you should have. Properly trimmed on the top and bottom. So what questions do you have about that? So one more final little thing that I got to throw in here at the end before I talk to you about that perp frames issue. The geometry is not joined, and it's not merged or anything like that to make it a clean profile. So if you want to do that, just go back to what you see here, right? This extrude, these surface extrusions, and the face merge. So copy and paste that, pull it to the end, and you'll have a connection of all of them. Or not. Oh, that's right, that's only a couple things. I need to also connect the top rail and bottom rail with that, so that's going to be another merge. We'll merge that. So we're going to do our surface difference. Oops. We'll do our top rail, and we'll do our bottom rail, and then we'll plug that in. Let me just check it. Flatten it. Okay, so let me just double check here by turning this stuff off. There you go. Nice and clean edges, no problems with that, right? Any further questions? Okay. So I'll zoom in so you can get caught up.